A Trump-appointed judge has blocked Joe Biden's executive order protecting trans rights in 20 states. This is something we would have seen coming. What's going on here, Jeannie?
So we talked about President Biden issuing an executive order to sort of put some stumbling blocks in the way of anti-trans legislation, anti-LGBTQ plus discrimination in legislation, and a federal judge stepped in and basically said that the executive order of the president in 2021 directly interferes with and threatens the plaintiff state's ability to continue enforcing their state laws. So, what we're looking at is how does Title IX get applied when it comes to transgender and LGBTQ plus issues? And President Biden basically came out through his executive order and said Title IX is also applicable in sexual orientation and gender identity concerns due to the fact that Title IX bans discrimination on the basis of sex. And both sexual orientation and gender identity center the subject of sex within the conversations. Um, states states are basically saying we should be allowed to um, enact certain laws that do not favor transgender students in schools to receive a certain type of treatment. And on the flip side of that is that they're saying we want the right to not recognize transgender youth as people of full right, and therefore we are going to demand the discrimination against them. They are coming right out and saying the words almost, we demand the right to discriminate against transgender people.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing. It becomes the debate of like, because they're pushing forth this lie that it's protecting women's sports and these other things, protecting women's safe spaces, all of this stuff. So they feel this, they feel like they're presenting this altruistic stance on it. And
Right.
yet, yeah, it is just specifically targeting a group and limiting their rights and their ability to participate in society the way that other people are allowed to, without any hassle.
Right.
And that appears to clearly be a federal issue and an issue of like, no, you cannot discriminate against people based on, a certain classification. It's sort of a whole thing we're about here. And yet it's interesting that they're like, no, but we should have the right to because we're, the states' rights part of the Constitution.
Yeah. And I wish there were an easier way to deal with this, but there isn't. Um, the the ultimate issue is, quite frankly, um, does every person in this country have the same legal rights as every other person
Mm.
in this country? And if the answer is no, then we are then creating a new issue that is parallel to the slavery issue of the Civil War.